Hey you guys, welcome back to my channel. For today's video, I'm going to be doing for you guys the Drugstore Makeup Tag. This tag was done by Jen Phelps last week, and as a big fan of Jen's, and a big fan of tag videos, and a big fan of drugstore makeup, I had to do this. And I had quite a few of you guys tag me on Instagram to do this video, so I'm excited to talk with you guys today about some really awesome and maybe not so awesome drugstore makeup. For those of you that are new to my channel, special welcome to you. I hope that you'll consider subscribing if you haven't done that yet. I will, of course, link Jen's video down below if you haven't had a chance to check hers out. And with all of that said, let's go ahead and jump right into the tag. So the very first question in the tag is, I have my little paper. I actually printed off the questions because last time I did a tag video, I had a hard time reading my own handwriting. True story. So I've got my little paper here with all of my questions and answers on it. And the very first question, if you could only use one drugstore or affordable brand forever, what would it be? This is a pretty heavy question. As much as I love so much drugstore makeup, there are very few brands that cover the whole gamut of makeup products that I would need to complete a full face of makeup that I would not only be comfortable wearing every single day, but wearing every single day for the rest of my life. Thankfully, this scenario is not real, but I really thought hard about what this would be, and it really kind of came down to a couple different brands, but the one I'm going to go with is Wet n Wild. So kind of a funny note about Wet n Wild, while I was watching Jen's video, and I had actually already come up with my answers before I watched her video, but she had mentioned that Wet n Wild was one of the brands that she had sort of lost interest in or had kind of bored her a little bit, and I actually kind of agree with her there. I don't think a lot of their new releases are very exciting. Sometimes they're not even very good, to be perfectly honest, but Wet n Wild has within their line a lot of products that I think are really, really good. Now, they may not be exciting, but they do work really well for me. I think they have some eyeshadow palettes that have really good formulas. You know I love their eyeliner. They have some foundations that I really love. They have a great highlighter. I like their bronzers and their blushes. Their eyeshadow primers is one of my favorites at the drugstore, and I even like some of their brow products. So across the board, I think they have the most consistently decent products of any other makeup brand that I've tried. Now, e.l.f. was a runner-up, Flower Beauty was a runner-up, but the reason I picked Wet n Wild is because of, number one, their affordability. You guys know I love really affordable makeup that works really well, and I feel like Wet n Wild really covers that niche. The only thing I think they are missing, and this is kind of a big one, is mascara. I really don't think Wet n Wild has very good mascaras, but e.l.f. doesn't have very good mascaras either. I think they were the one that I almost picked. But I'm gonna give them a pass because there really isn't a brand out there that from top to bottom has every product in the bag, so to speak, but Wet n Wild I think is the closest for me. Question number 2, what is the most underrated affordable or drugstore makeup brand? This one I have to go with Flower Beauty. Flower Beauty I feel like had a moment where they got a lot of love, and I haven't heard them talked about quite as much lately, mainly I think because they've been pulled out of a lot of drugstores. They now can only be bought from their own website. There are still a few things on Ulta's website as well, but I am a big fan of Flower Beauty's makeup products. While I haven't tried everything in their line, everything that I have tried, and I have tried quite a bit, I have absolutely loved. I think their formulas are really well thought out and created. They're really good quality for a more affordable price. Now, they're not super affordable. They are definitely not Wet n Wild pricing, but their quality is fantastic. There's quite a few things in their line that I am still interested in trying. I still have not tried out their, what are their blushes? Their liquid blushes. I've also heard good things about their powders. You guys know I'm not a big powder person, but for those of you that are, I've heard their powders are amazing. I've heard good things about their mascara. I just think for how great their products are, I don't think they're talked about enough. Now, question number 3, what is the most overrated drugstore or affordable makeup brand? This one, of course, is a little bit hard. It feels a little harsh to point out one brand, but if I had to pick one, I think it would be CoverGirl. Now, there are a couple things from CoverGirl that I really like. I love their concealer. That's probably the only product from them that I really love, but there's a lot of things from them that I've tried and been very unimpressed with, but there's also an element of they don't really interest me all that much. I don't know what it is about their new releases. Even the things they come out with that are kind of hyped on YouTube, for whatever reason, I'm just not all that drawn to their products. Now, I still have not tried their Exhibitionist mascara, which I've heard a ton of people rave about and absolutely love. That is one thing from them that I'm very interested in trying, but for the most part, I just don't buy a lot from CoverGirl. But I know a lot of people love them, so I guess that would be my answer for that one. Now, feel free to tell me if I'm wrong, if I am missing something. I'm always happy to hear that feedback from you guys, and happy to have my mind changed, so let me know if I am missing something from them, but they're the one that comes to mind first for me. Question number 4, what is your favorite drugstore product under $5? I bet you guys can guess what my answer to this one would be. Say it with me. the Wet n Wild Kohl eyeliner pencil in Simma Brown now. I'm such a fan of this pencil, and I have been raving about this very simple, seemingly insignificant pencil for such a long time that I almost don't want to talk about it anymore because I feel like people will start getting annoyed, but I use this thing almost every single day. It is the only makeup product that I have been repurchasing for the last 7 or 8 years and am still using. I just love this. It works really well for me. I've talked about it a lot here on my channel, so I don't want to spend too long on this one, but I think the reason that I like this specifically is the formula is a really easy to work with formula that doesn't irritate my eyes. I know a lot of people are really into the stay all day like gel pencil liners like the Urban Decay 24/7 liner, but a lot of those pencils can make my eyes water. And my eyes, once they start to water, it's like a faucet that you turn on and cannot be turned off. They will water all day long. So I'm very sensitive to a lot of different eyeliners, and this is one that is just very, very gentle. But despite the fact that it's not long wearing, it doesn't seem to smudge on me, and I just love the color. It's the perfect deep brown. Can't say enough good things about it. And of course, it's 99 cents. What is not to love about that price point? Question number 5. What is a hidden gem from the drugstore that no one talks about? So this one, I won't say no one talks about it, but for how amazing it is, I don't feel like very many people talk about it. And honestly, I don't know that I've talked about it all that much, but I have to go with the Flower Beauty Jungle Lights palette. Now, this is such an amazing, I don't know what to call it. I wouldn't say that they're eyeshadows per se. They're more of like a shimmery cream eyeshadow. They remind me a lot. In fact, we're going to be talking about this in a minute for the dupe category, but they are very, very similar to the Hourglass Scattered Light shadows, but I actually like these better. The price is fantastic. I think this whole palette, which is full of beautiful, wearable, super reflective and foiled shades that wear really well, is only $14.99. And on top of that, if you guys keep an eye on the Flower Beauty website, their stuff goes on sale quite often. They do 30% off sales pretty often, but look at these swatches. I mean, they are just, look at that. Still going. It is amazing. Sarah Hubler actually swatched these on her channel months and months ago, and as soon as she did this swatch where it went all the way around her arm, I was like, yes, buy now. I went and purchased it that very same day, and I'm so happy that I did because these are so beautiful. If you like a foiled lid and you don't want to splurge for the Hourglass, I am telling you guys, these are every bit as good, if not better. I love all the shades. I just feel like more people should have raved about these. They've been out for a while now. I think I saw Allie Glines feature them in one video. Sarah, of course, featured them in her video, but other than that, no one gives these the love that I feel like they deserve. What is your favorite drugstore foundation? I'm gonna still go with the Flower Beauty Light Illusion foundation. Now, I have other foundations that I feel like have kind of crept close to this one, including the new Wet n Wild Dewy foundation. I do love that one, but I think this one still wears a little bit better. Also love my Misha BB cream, but I wasn't quite sure if that really fit into the drugstore category because it's a K-beauty makeup brand. You can't buy it everywhere. So I'm going to stick with the Flower Beauty Light Illusion. I still love this foundation. Every time I use it, I'm reminded of how good it is. It's a very hydrating, creamy, medium coverage foundation that my skin really loves. But if you are needing something very long wearing, this probably won't be the foundation for you. Or if you have more normal to oily skin, you typically prefer something more satin or matte, then this definitely you probably will not like, but I absolutely love it. My skin loves it. It wears really well on me, and it just looks very natural. Question number 7. What products do you tend to buy more of at the drugstore versus high-end? I could probably put anything in this category because I definitely buy a lot more drugstore makeup than I do high-end makeup, but the 3 that I think I would be perfectly happy only using drugstore would be mascara, bronzer, and concealer. Now, concealer I threw in there at the end because I've recently discovered a new concealer that I'm just so in love with. I would miss my Too Faced Multi-Use Sculpting Concealer. That's one of my favorite concealers, and I kind of consider that more affordable because of how much product you get. But I think I have a new drugstore concealer that I have fallen in love with enough that I would be okay not using the Too Faced anymore. We'll get to that one in just a minute, but those are the 3 that I'd have to go with. I almost never buy high-end mascaras other than the IT Cosmetics, but even that one, I could live without it. There are so many great mascaras at the drugstore that I just don't feel like you need to spend over $20 on a mascara. And I'm kind of feeling the same way about bronzer. I talked recently about my Marc Jacob bronzer, how I bought that bronzer just because of the hype around it and thinking that it would be kind of this like experience, kind of like when I use a high-end eyeshadow palette. Eyeshadow palettes are one of those things that I enjoy the experience of using something a little more high-end, but I don't really feel that way about all of my high-end bronzers. I would be very happy with just the drugstore bronzers that I have because I have some really great ones. My Butter bronzer, the Milani Silky Matte bronzer, my Wet n Wild bronzers. I actually have 2 Wet n Wild bronzers on my face today, so I think I could live without high-end for those as well. Question number 8. What drugstore brand do you think is overpriced? I just think a lot of them are overpriced now because you guys know me and my very, very frugal mentality. But the ones I have to point out, there's two, is L'Oreal and Physicians Formula. Now, with L'Oreal, the reason I feel like, I could be wrong, let me know, but I feel like there was a point where they were a little more affordable than they've gotten over the last 5 or 6 years. And here's how I know this to be true. When I'm walking through Walmart specifically, even Target, but Walmart or Target, I think, their prices tend to be a little bit lower than other drugstores. So when I go in there, I expect most drugstore makeup to be under kind of the $10 mark or around the $10 mark. And when I see rows and rows of makeup that are above the $10 mark, big red flags go off inside of my mind and I just get kind of turned off. Now, I do think L'Oreal makes really good products. They have a lot of products that I really, really love, but there's something about brands that consistently price the majority of their products over the $10 mark that I just feel like is too close to high end. I buy makeup at the drugstore to save money, so when it starts to creep a little bit close to that kind of Ulta and Sephora price tag, it makes me feel like what's the point? Because I don't want to just save $3 or $4. I want to save $10+ when I'm buying makeup at the drugstore. And the same thing's true with Physicians Formula. They're a brand that I just think sometimes gets their prices way high. They've been doing it for a long time though. I do think though there are a couple things from them that are worth the price. I think their bronzer is worth the price tag. It is probably still one of the best bronzer formulas that I have in my entire collection, and that thing is old. It's been out for a while, but there is a reason people have been talking about it forever because it's just so good. But that's one of the few things that I give them a pass on. A lot of their other products I just am kind of pushed away by their high price tag. Question number 9, what is your favorite drugstore dupe? Now I already talked a little bit about this one. I think probably the best drugstore dupe I have is the Jungle Lights palette for the Hourglass Scattered Light. I just think these are so similar. The formulas are so similar. They wear so similarly. And it amazes me that you can get basically 6 different shades of like the Scattered Light shadows in one palette for half the price of one of the originals. That's just incredible. But I have another dupe, this one even more affordable, and I don't know that I call these exact dupes, but they're kind of close, especially in their formula, and it is the Wet n Wild Contour Stick. This I would say is an almost dupe for the Milk Makeup Bronzer Stick. Now I have 2 shades of this. I have this shade right here, which is Where's Walnut. I actually prefer this shade to the other shade I have, which is Oaks on You. I'll go ahead and swatch them all for you guys though. So here is the Milk Makeup Bronzer Stick. Sorry, my knuckles are kind of bony. Then here is the shade Where's Walnut. I'm wearing this one today. There they are right there. You can see this one is deeper. And then this is the shade Oaks on You. There it is down there. So I don't know if you can tell. This one definitely looks like it's more of a dupe. But if I turn it to the side, and mostly when I blend this one out, it does turn quite warm on me. And I kind of prefer the slight coolness to this one in the middle. Even though it is a little bit darker, I just will be a little bit more light-handed with it. I think these are really good alternatives to the Milk Makeup Bronzer Stick. If you are someone especially that maybe you haven't tried out cream bronzers, you want to see if you might like a cream bronzer, this is a great place to start. Super affordable. I think you can find these for under $5 on Wet n Wild's website. I have still seen them in my local Target and Walmart. They're super easy to work with. They're very easy to blend. I think they're as easy to blend as the Milk one. The biggest thing I think the Milk one has over the Wet n Wild is just its longevity. It does last a little bit longer, but these last a decent amount of time, and the formula is amazing. Whether you're using a sponge or a stippling brush or even your fingers, these are just really easy to work with and a great way to try out cream bronzer. Question number 10, what is the best drugstore eyeshadow formula? This is a tough one. I definitely couldn't narrow it down to just one. I'm gonna have to go with 2, and that would be Juvia's Place and ColourPop. I feel like there might be some debate on both of these being drugstore or affordable, and I think that's the kicker. If you say affordable, I would definitely count both of these. Juvia's Place palettes, well, they're not the most affordable for the quality and the color story and the packaging, and if you can get them on sale, which is very often, they go on sale quite often, especially if you buy them from their website, they're a really great price for what you're getting, and their formulas are really, really great. I've said this many times over the last year especially, that they are probably my very favorite eyeshadow palette brand in existence. I just love their palettes. I think they do such a great job. But in close second is ColourPop. I love ColourPop's formula. I know they're a little overwhelming with the amount of palettes that they can come out with, but I've rarely been disappointed in a ColourPop. In fact, I don't think I ever have. I don't think I've ever been disappointed in a ColourPop formula. Their formula is really, really great, and they have so many options to pick from. I just love them. I love all of my ColourPop palettes, just like I love all of my Juvia's palettes. So those would be my top 2. Question 11, what is the worst drugstore eyeshadow formula? This one's a little tricky, and I'm gonna have to go with one that I actually don't have anymore, just from an experience I had a couple of years ago, and it would have to be Essence. Now, I have not tried out any of their newer eyeshadow palettes, so it's possible that things have changed, but when I did try a palette out for them, I think it was a smaller palette I got from them from Ulta about 3 years ago before I started my YouTube channel, and it was terrible. It was dusty, there was no pigmentation, the shimmers did not even really show up on my eyes. It was so bad that even before I had a larger makeup collection, I got rid of that thing because I could tell, even in my less experienced days, that it was just not good. I would love to know from you guys that have tried some of their newer palettes out. Are they better? I feel like I've heard a couple of things that some of their newer palettes are better, so let me know if I need to give them a second chance, but that first palette I tried, man, it was pretty bad. Question number 12, drugstore brand that you used to love but aren't as crazy about anymore. This one was so tricky for me, but I'm gonna have to go with Makeup Revolution. Now, this is where I think this video was kind of interesting and funny, especially after I watched Jen's, because I feel like her favorite brand and worst brand are like opposites of what my favorite and worst brand are. But here's my reasoning behind the Makeup Revolution. I like a lot of their products. I've tried a lot of them out. I love their eyeshadow formula, but what I think has kind of pushed me back from trying out more of their stuff is just how overwhelming their brand has gotten. Now, Jen mentioned that she loved their brand because they always have something new and interesting coming out, and I can kind of see where that would definitely be a bonus, especially over someone like Wet n Wild that doesn't have a lot of new stuff coming out, and sometimes when they do, it's very gimmicky. But Makeup Revolution has so many different things coming out, and they have like 3 different brands within their one brand that I just feel very confused, and I think that confusion has kind of pushed me back from trying out some of their new stuff because there's just too much of it. I don't know where to start. Now, I'm certainly not like blacklisting Makeup Revolution. They're a brand that I still really like, and there's a lot of things I'm very interested in. In fact, their newer line that looks very luxury, I think Jen has reviewed, or she's planning to review that on her channel soon, but that looks really interesting to me because the packaging looks really, really beautiful, but I just feel very confused on like which brand is which. Are they all one brand? Are they all one formula? I don't know if all the different eyeshadows that fall under their different Revolution X or Revolution Pro or Makeup Revolution, are they the same formulas? I don't know, and honestly, I don't want to invest all my money into trying to figure that out. But that's the reason I've kind of pulled back from that brand in favor of other brands. They just overwhelm me a little bit, but I am interested in some of their new stuff. So of course, let me know if you have tried things out from them that you haven't seen me try, that you think I should try. I would love to hear that feedback because I kind of feel like with Makeup Revolution, I just don't know where to start. Question number 13, drugstore product you didn't expect to love but totally wowed you. This one I have a very easy answer for, and have to be the Revlon Candid concealers. I have a lot of concealers that I really love, but you guys, these are, I'm gonna say it, so far the best concealers I've ever tried. They are perfect for me. They are very hydrating, but they have really good coverage without having too much coverage. They work great under my eyes, but they also work really good at covering spots on my face. I just love these so much. I think this is the best formula I have ever tried, period. That's a bold statement. I was not expecting that, even though I heard some people say they liked these. I gave them a try on a whim and have just been wowed by these things. I've been talking about them quite a bit lately, so I'm not going to talk about them for too much longer, but I will just say I was very impressed with this concealer, and it's really opened my eyes to Revlon as a brand and wanting to try more out from them, because I think they're another one of those brands that I kind of just skimmed over for the last couple of years, and now they kind of have my attention. So because of these concealers, I have actually been thinking about doing like a Revlon focused video, maybe not a full face of Revlon makeup, but just a video trying out a lot of their products that people have been talking about, because I feel like a lot of people have started slowly talking about some things from Revlon, and it has my attention. So if you guys have recommendations, please leave them down below for me and I'll see what I can do. Last question, number 14, and this is a fun one. Your favorite affordable eyeshadow palette right now. And this is a tricky one because I do switch my eyeshadow palettes out almost daily, but right now I think my very favorites have to be these two right here. The Magic Mini palette by Juvia's Place. I've been a long time fan of this and talked about it for a long time, and also the BH Cosmetics Desert Oasis palette. Let's start with the Magic Mini palette. This is just such a fun palette from Juvia's Place, and that's what I love so much about this one. That's why I talk about it all the time, because it's just a very, very fun way to play with soft color. You get a lot of variety in here. You get enough that you can build an entire look, but it's just such a fun and inspiring palette. So I did mention I have the Flower Beauty on my lid, but in my outer corner I'm actually wearing this deep purple right here, and then on my inner corner, I don't know if you can see that kind of iridescent pop of purpley blue, that is this shade right here. This is just a really, really fun palette. I really love it. Every time I use it, I feel so inspired, and I have so much fun creating eye looks from this thing. I just love it. I think it's amazing. Love Juvia's Place, and this is one of my favorites of theirs, especially for spring and summertime when I want to kind of experiment and play around. this is kind of my go-to. But also in the summer, I love a good amount of bronze, I love a good amount of highlight, and I am a big fan of this palette. I know it's been around for a long time. It's newer to me. I picked this up during the holiday season, and I love it. I think the highlights in here are amazing. I am wearing these highlights on my cheeks today. I'm wearing a mix of this champagne and this kind of bright yellow. This yellow is such a fun highlight when used in moderation because it is quite intense, but I love this. It's just like a touch of a spotlight highlight somewhere or on the inner corner of the eyes. It is beautiful. I've been reaching for this palette just for its highlights very regularly for the last couple of months. I just think this thing is amazing, and the shadows in here are really great as well. Obviously pretty basic, pretty simple, but if you like that kind of bronzy golden eye, you will absolutely love this palette. Their formula is amazing. I'm more impressed with it the more I use it. I feel like I've said that in the last couple of videos, but I've been so impressed with these that I'm very interested in picking up quite a few more. I think I have like 4 palettes of theirs in my cart right now over on their website, just waiting to hit that buy button. In fact, there's a lot of palettes coming out in the next couple of weeks, guys, a couple of which are on their way to me, and I'm very excited to talk about. I'm trying to pace myself. I'm not quite sure when I'll buy a few more from B&H, but I definitely will at some point because I just really love their shadows. But with that, you guys, that is it for the drugstore makeup tag. I hope that you guys enjoyed this video. If you are a creator, I would love to see you do this tag as well. Of course, if you do, let me know so I can go watch it. And for the rest of you, I would love to know any answers that you have to these questions. Leave them down in the comments below. I hope that you guys are doing well. Thank you guys for stopping by today and watching this video. One more reminder to subscribe before you leave, and that is it, you guys. I will see all of you in my next video. Bye. Smack? Is that right? No. Smack is like trash talk. What? And I'm gonna happily wear these swatches on my arm for the rest of the day because seriously, they are so beautiful. Whoa, my voice. Forgot to breathe there for a sec. But with that, you guys, that is it for the drugstore eyeshadow palette. No, that's not what it's called. Next couple weeks are going to be a lot of fun if you like new eyeshadow palettes. You know I do.